In this video, we're going to look at the differences between fetal and adult circulation. So if you look here, this is the placenta, which acts not only as the organ of gas exchange because the fetal lungs are not developed, but it acts as an organ of material exchange, bringing nutrients to the developing baby and carrying waste products away from the developing baby. Here is the umbilical cord, which contains one umbilical vein and two umbilical arteries. Just like in adult circulation, veins bring blood to the heart and arteries carry blood away from the heart. Here, the umbilical vein is also in red because it's rich in oxygen. So it comes from the placenta, rich in oxygen, sends off the chute under the liver, the ductus venosus, into the inferior vena cava and into the right atrium. Now recall, in adult circulation, from the right atrium we would go into the right ventricle and then to the lungs. So right atrium, right ventricle to the lungs to drop off CO2 and pick up O2, and then we'd return to the left atrium. That doesn't happen here because, again, the lungs are not operational. They're not fully functioning. So we had a fossa ovalis in the adult circulation, but here we have the foramen ovale, that natural opening between the right atrium and the left atrium. And that's to bypass the lungs that are not operational yet. So the oxygenated blood coming in from the inferior vena cava, which arrived from the placenta, goes into the right atrium, through the foramen ovale, into the left atrium, into the left ventricle, and out the aorta through the whole body to nourish all of the tissues. Upon the moment of birth, that foramen ovale then closes and becomes the fossa ovalis. When that baby takes its first full breath, the returning blood from the lungs into the left atrium will close the foramen ovale, and it is forever the fossa ovalis. But until that happens, it's a bypass. Further down here, we see two umbilical arteries denoted in purple here because they're carrying deoxygenated blood. They still follow the rule to carry blood away from the heart. And so those two umbilical arteries enter the umbilical cord and go back to the placenta to drop off CO2, pick up O2, and return again through the umbilical vein. If you recall, in adult circulation, there was another bypass right here, only it was a remnant scar at that time, called the ligamentum arteriosum. It's too small to see on this model, but if it were there, it is called the ductus arteriosus. But again, it'll collapse down to just a ligamentous connection called the ligamentum arteriosum. And the ductus venosus will become the round ligament of the liver. The foramen ovale will become the fossa ovalis. So those are the main differences between fetal and adult circulation. And again, just to reiterate, the bloods don't mix. The baby has its own blood, the mother has her own blood, but they exchange materials via the maternal and fetal sides of the placenta.